When I told my wife I had to go on a business trip for 3 days, she smiled a little too easily. No sadness, no hesitation, not even a simple "I'll miss you." Just that polite smile, the kind that hides something behind it. Maybe it was my own paranoia, but something inside me stirred that night. I'd been married to Emily for 4 years, and lately she'd been distant. Always on her phone, always texting, always quick to leave the room when I walked in. So I decided to test her. Not in a manipulative way, at least that's what I told myself. I just wanted to know the truth, so I told her I'd be gone from Wednesday to Saturday, but secretly I planned to come back Thursday night unannounced. She kissed me goodbye at the door like everything was normal. "Have a safe flight," she said, standing there in her robe, her hair still damp from the shower. But I noticed she didn't watch me leave. She turned back inside before I even reached the car. That small detail burned in my mind for the next 24 hours. I checked her social media, nothing unusual. But her WhatsApp status was active at midnight. She never stayed up that late when I was home. My friend Jacob told me I was overthinking it. "Man, don't do that to yourself," he said. "You'll only find what you're looking for." But what if there was something to find? By Thursday evening, my heart was racing as I parked my car 2 streets away from our house. I turned off the headlights, walked quietly through the side alley, and crept to the back fence. All the lights in the living room were on. Music was playing, soft, romantic, the kind of playlist she used to put on for us when we were newly married. My hands were shaking as I peered through the small gap between the curtains. Emily was there, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, red, tight, elegant. She was pouring wine into 2 glasses, and then someone's hand appeared, a man's hand. He stepped into view, tall, confident, wearing a shirt I swear I'd seen before, because it was mine. My breath caught in my throat. Emily laughed, that sweet, shy laugh that used to be just for me, and she said, "You always smell like him." The man smiled, leaned closer, and whispered something I couldn't hear. I wanted to burst through the door, scream, throw everything away. But I didn't, not yet. I recorded a short clip on my phone, my hands trembling the whole time. My chest felt like it was going to explode, but part of me wanted to know more. Who was this guy? How long had this been happening? So instead of confronting her, I went back to my car, drove to a motel nearby, and stayed there for the night. I barely slept. By morning, my anger had turned into something else, curiosity mixed with pain. I checked our home security cameras remotely. I had installed a small one in the living room corner months ago when we had some thefts in the neighborhood. Emily never paid attention to it. At 1:15 a.m., I saw them sitting on the couch. She had her head on his shoulder. He was scrolling through something on his phone, and then he showed her something that made her eyes widen. She said, "You shouldn't keep that if he ever finds out." And he replied, "Relax, he's not coming back till Saturday." My blood ran cold. Who was he? How did he know my schedule? That's when I realized the only person I had told my travel dates to was her. So either she told him everything or they had been planning this. The next morning, I decided I wouldn't just walk in and accuse her. I wanted proof, undeniable proof. I called Jacob and asked for a favor. He worked in a local IT shop, and I needed him to recover deleted messages if I could get my wife's phone for just 1 hour. He hesitated. "Man, are you sure about this? Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it." "I'm already living the truth," I said quietly. "I just don't have the evidence yet." So I waited. I stayed away all Friday, pretending to still be out of town. But late that night, around 10:30, I drove back again. This time, the lights were off. The car in the driveway was unfamiliar, a gray sedan I didn't recognize. I hid behind the hedges and waited. When I finally saw her through the window again, she wasn't smiling. She looked worried, like she was arguing. The man stood near the door, his voice raised, though I couldn't hear the words. Then suddenly he slammed his hand against the wall. She flinched. Something about that moment, the fear on her face, made me hesitate. Was she cheating, or was there something else going on? I stepped closer, my heart thundering in my chest, when suddenly she looked directly toward the window, and for a split second our eyes met. Her expression changed completely. She whispered something to the man. He turned toward the window, and then everything went dark. The lights went out. The music stopped. I froze, then I heard footsteps approaching the front door. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you confront her right there or wait to find out the truth? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for part 2 because things are about to get even darker. I stood frozen outside my own house, my pulse hammering in my ears. The footsteps grew louder. Someone was coming to the door. For a second, I thought about running back to the car, pretending I was never there. But before I could move, the porch light flicked on. The door creaked open, and it was Emily who stepped out. It was him, the man from inside. He looked around for a moment, scanning the yard like he knew someone was watching. My breath caught in my throat as I crouched behind the hedge, barely daring to breathe. He was taller than I expected. Broad shoulders, black hair, and wearing that same shirt, my shirt. He muttered something to himself, checked his phone, and then walked toward the driveway. The unfamiliar gray sedan's lights flashed his car. He got in, backed out slowly, and drove away. Only after the car disappeared down the street did I finally move. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I needed to know what was going on inside, so I approached the house quietly, my shoes crunching against the gravel, every sound echoing in my skull. When I reached the front door, I noticed something strange. The lock wasn't fully turned. It was slightly open. Emily never left the door unlocked. Never. I pushed it gently. It opened with a faint creak. Inside, the house was dimly lit by a single lamp. The smell of wine and perfume hung in the air. Her red dress was draped over the couch, and on the table, 2 wine glasses, one half empty, the other untouched, but Emily wasn't there. "Emily," I called out softly. No response. I walked further in, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The hallway light flickered faintly. Then I heard it, a faint sound coming from upstairs like someone crying. I took the steps one by one, every creak echoing like a gunshot. When I reached the bedroom door, it was half open. Inside, Emily sat on the edge of the bed, clutching her phone in both hands, tears running down her face. For a second, I almost forgot why I was angry. She looked so broken, so small. But then I remembered the wine glasses, the laughter, the shirt that wasn't on me. "Emily," I said quietly. She gasped, dropped her phone, and looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes. What are you doing here?" she stammered. "You were supposed to be gone." "Yeah," I said coldly. "That's what you told him too, right?" Her face went pale. "What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. I saw you last night, the wine, the dress, him." She froze completely. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. "Who is he, Emily?" I demanded. "And why was he wearing my shirt?" She didn't answer. She just sat there, breathing heavily, eyes darting between me and the doorway like she was calculating something. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." I laughed bitterly. "Really? Because from where I was standing, it looked exactly like what I think." She shook her head. "You shouldn't have come back early." That sentence hit differently, not "I can explain" or "you're misunderstanding." Just "you shouldn't have come back." "What does that mean?" I snapped. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and said something that made my stomach twist. "You're not safe here." I frowned. "What?" She stood up, her voice trembling. "You need to leave, Daniel. Please, just go." I stared at her in disbelief. "You think I'm leaving you with him, whoever that guy is?" She shook her head frantically. "He's not who you think he is either. He's dangerous." I blinked, trying to process her words. Dangerous. "You're telling me the man drinking wine in my house, wearing my clothes, is dangerous, and you just invited him over?" She flinched. "I didn't invite him, he found me." Her words didn't make sense. None of it did. I took a step forward. "Emily, if you don't tell me what's going on right now." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from downstairs. We both froze. It wasn't a door closing. It was heavier, like someone had kicked something. Emily's face drained of color. "He came back," she whispered. I turned toward the hallway. "Who?" Before she could answer, we heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I quickly stepped back into the shadows beside the wardrobe. Emily grabbed her phone, pressed it against her chest, and whispered, "Please just don't say anything." The bedroom door creaked open. The same man walked in, but now he wasn't calm or charming. His face was hard, his eyes cold. He scanned the room. "Where is he?" Emily shook her head. "He's gone." "I told you he's gone." He cut her off with a glare. "Don't lie to me." He took another step forward. I could see a glint of metal in his hand, a gun. I froze completely. He moved toward her, his voice low but venomous. "You told me you wouldn't come back until Saturday. You said we had time." "I didn't know," she cried. "He came back early. I swear I didn't know." I felt my whole body tight. He pointed the gun at her. "Then you'd better start praying he didn't see anything." My breath caught in my throat. In that moment, I realized this wasn't about infidelity anymore. There was something much darker happening. I took out my phone slowly, recording again. My fingers trembled, but I needed proof. He turned his head slightly, and for a split second I saw his face clearly. And that's when I recognized him. He wasn't a stranger. He was Ethan Miller, my wife's ex-boyfriend. The one who had been arrested 2 years ago for assault. The one she swore she had blocked and never spoken to again. My mind went blank. How did he get in here? Why was she letting him near her? Before I could think, Ethan raised the gun again, and that's when I made my move. I lunged out from the shadows and tackled him from behind. The gun flew out of his hand, clattering across the floor. Emily screamed. Ethan twisted violently, elbowing me in the ribs. I hit the floor hard, gasping for air. He swung at me, but I rolled away just in time and grabbed the gun. I pointed it at him, my hands shaking. "Don't move," I shouted. Ethan froze, breathing hard, eyes full of rage. Emily was crying now, clutching the sheets. "Daniel, please don't. Tell me the truth," I yelled. "Why is he here? What the hell is going on, Emily?" She sobbed harder. "Because I thought he was gone. He came back last week. He's been threatening me. He said if I told you, he'd kill us both." Ethan sneered. "She's lying." "You think she's innocent? Ask her what she did to me." I glanced between them, my mind spinning. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about my marriage, was unraveling right before my eyes. Emily's voice cracked as she said, "Daniel, please just trust me. Put the gun down." Ethan smirked. Yeah, listen to your loving wife, the one who never told you the truth. I felt my finger tighten on the trigger, and then sirens. Someone had called the cops. Ethan's eyes widened. He bolted toward the window, crashing through the glass and disappearing into the darkness. I ran to the edge and looked down, but he was gone. Emily collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. When the police arrived minutes later, I didn't even know what to say. They took our statements, searched the area, and promised to find him. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because when I checked Emily's phone later that night, I found something that made my blood run cold, a message from Ethan, sent 2 days before I left for my trip. It said, "Make sure he's gone, then we'll finish what we started. If you were in my place, would you believe her or walk away forever? Comment your thoughts and subscribe for part 3 because what I found next will change everything." The house was a mess. Broken glass, flashing red and blue lights outside, police voices echoing through every room, but the worst chaos was inside my head. Ethan was gone, but his words wouldn't leave me. Ask her what she did to me. Emily sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, answering questions from one of the officers. She looked so small, so fragile, but I couldn't stop staring at her phone in my hand. That one message. Make sure he's gone, then we'll finish what we started. Finish what exactly? The officer finally left, leaving us alone in the living room. The air was thick with tension and silence. Emily looked up at me with red, puffy eyes. They said he's gone, they'll find him. I didn't answer, I just held up her phone. You want to tell me what this means? Her face went pale. You read my messages? Don't you dare flip this on me, I snapped. You've been lying for days, weeks maybe, you owe me the truth. Tears welled in her eyes again. I didn't want to drag you into this. Into what? I said, my voice shaking. You let a criminal into our home, Emily, a man who pointed a gun at you, at us. You think you get to play the victim here. She buried her face in her hands. It's not that simple. It never is, I muttered. Start talking. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the ticking clock on the wall. Then she looked up slowly, her expression hollow. 2 years ago, she began, after I stopped seeing Ethan, I thought he was out of my life. But 3 months ago, he found me again. I frowned. How? He sent me a letter. It said he still had something of mine, something important. He wanted to meet just once to return it. I shook my head in disbelief. So you met him after everything he did to you? She nodded weakly. I thought if I didn't, he'd come here anyway. I met him in a cafe downtown. He gave me a USB drive, said it contained proof that someone at his old job was after him. He begged me to keep it safe, said if anything happened to him, I should take it to the police. I stared at her. You expect me to believe this? She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small black USB stick, setting it on the table between us. It's right here. I didn't touch it. So this, I said slowly, is what that message meant, finish what we started. He wanted you to finish whatever this is. Emily nodded. Yes, but when I checked what was on it, it wasn't what he said. Her voice trembled. What was it then? I asked. She hesitated, then whispered, videos from inside his company, secret recordings of people, high-level people doing things they shouldn't, blackmail material. I blinked. You're telling me Ethan was involved in some kind of corporate espionage? She nodded again. He told me he was being followed, that people wanted the drive back. I didn't believe him until last week, when someone broke into the house while you were at work. My stomach dropped. You never told me that. She shook her head. I thought it was just him, but now I think they're connected. I rubbed my face with both hands. So let me get this straight. You've been hiding a flash drive that could get people killed, meeting your violent ex behind my back and lying to me because you thought it would protect me. She looked up, her eyes glistening. Yes, I wanted to scream, but something about her tone, the way she said it, like she meant it, made me pause. I picked up the USB and turned it in my fingers. Then we're going to find out what's on this thing. She reached out suddenly. Daniel, no, if you plug it in, but I already had my laptop open. Within seconds, the screen lit up with folders. Most were random numbers, but one stood out. Do not open copy. I clicked it. Inside were dozens of video files, time-stamped, dated, each just a few minutes long. I opened one. The grainy footage showed a conference room. Men in suits sitting around a table, passing envelopes, signing papers. At first, it looked ordinary until one of them mentioned a name I recognized. Senator Whitmore. The same Whitmore who appeared on the news every other night preaching about anti-corruption laws. Emily's voice trembled. Do you see now why I couldn't just delete it? My mind raced. If this is real, this could destroy people. She nodded. That's why Ethan came back. He wanted me to help leak it, but I refused. I told him I wanted nothing to do with it. Then why the message about finishing what we started? I asked. Her lip quivered. Because I told him I'd think about it, but I never meant to. He thought I'd betray him. I sat back, trying to process everything. The fear, the lies, the danger that was suddenly crawling into my life like a slow poison. Then Emily whispered something that made my blood run cold. Daniel, there's more. I looked up. More, she swallowed hard. Before you came home tonight, he said something strange. He said if anything happened to him, people would come looking for that drive. My eyes widened. You mean they know you have it? She nodded slowly. And now they'll know you do too. Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. We both froze. It wasn't a friendly knock. It was firm, rhythmic, like someone who expected to be let in. Emily's hand went to her mouth. It's them. How can you be sure? I whispered. She pointed toward the window. That car, the same one that was parked outside the cafe the night I met Ethan. They've been watching. I turned off the laptop immediately and stuffed the USB into my pocket. The knocking got louder. Open up, a voice called, deep, commanding. Police, we just have a few questions. Emily's eyes widened in panic. Daniel, it's not the police. I glanced through the peephole and my stomach dropped. 2 men in suits, no badges, no. Marked car, back door, I whispered. We ran through the kitchen, but before we could reach it, the front door burst open. Wood splintered, boots thundered. I grabbed Emily's hand and pulled her toward the back hallway. We barely made it into the garage before one of them shouted, "Stop right there!" A gunshot echoed. The wall beside me shattered. Emily screamed. We ducked behind the car, my mind racing. Keys, 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 she fumbled, trembling, tossing them to me. I slammed the garage door button, the slow creak of metal drowning in the chaos. As the door lifted, light poured in from the driveway, and then I froze. A man was already standing outside, waiting. He smiled, coldly. Going somewhere. If you were in my place, what would you do next? Run, fight, or hand over the drive? Tell me in the comments and subscribe for part 4 because this night is far from over. The man outside the garage door smiled like he'd been waiting for me all night. Cold eyes. Black gloves, a small scar running across his cheek. Going somewhere, he said, his voice calm but deadly serious. I froze. Emily clutched my arm so tightly her nails dug into my skin. Behind us, I could still hear the other 2 men kicking down doors, shouting through the house. We were trapped. One way led to them, the other to him. He took a slow step forward. You've got something that doesn't belong to you. I didn't answer. My brain was spinning, calculating, but there was nowhere to go. He raised his hand slightly, showing he had a gun, though he didn't point it yet. Give me the drive, Daniel. My name. He knew my name. I swallowed hard. Who are you? He ignored the question. Last chance, the drive. Emily whispered, please, Daniel, don't. But something in me snapped. I had been lied to, threatened, and almost killed in my own house. I wasn't about to hand over the only thing that might explain any of it. So I did the only thing I could think of. I threw the car keys at his face. It wasn't much, but it made him flinch, just enough time for me to grab Emily and dive into the car. I slammed the door shut, hit the ignition, and reversed hard. The garage door hadn't even opened fully, and metal scraped against the roof as I forced my way out. The man fired once, the back window shattered. Emily screamed. I floored it down the driveway, tires screeching, heart pounding so fast it drowned out everything else. We sped through the dark suburban streets, not even sure where we were going. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every car behind us looked suspicious. Daniel, Emily cried, they'll follow us. We need to get rid of it. The drive, I said, gripping the wheel. No, not until I know what's on it. You said there were videos. What if there's something bigger, something that can stop them? She shook her head, trembling. You don't understand. They don't care about truth. They only care about control. Keep it, we're dead. Her words hit me like a wave. I slowed down slightly, glancing in the mirror. No headlights following us, not yet. Okay, I said. Then we go to the police. She shook her head. They might already be involved. Ethan said he couldn't trust anyone, not even the cops. Then who the hell do we go to? I snapped. She looked at me, her eyes full of desperation. There's one person, Ethan's lawyer. He said if anything ever happened to him, I should take the drive to her. Her name's Claire Jensen, downtown. He said she's the only one who could prove what's really going on. I exhaled, trying to think. Fine, we go to her first thing in the morning. But Emily shook her head violently. No, we can't wait. They'll track us. Track us how? She hesitated. Because the drive, it's not just files. It's connected to something online. Ethan said it updates automatically whenever it's plugged in. I stared at her. You're saying they know the moment we opened it? She nodded slowly. Yes. My stomach twisted. That meant they were already coming. I turned onto the highway, heading toward the city. My mind was racing. The USB drive in my pocket felt like a ticking bomb. After 20 minutes, we pulled into a small gas station off the highway. I parked behind the building, killed the engine, and turned to her. Okay, I said quietly. Tell me everything, no more secrets. She took a deep breath. I met Ethan at the company he used to work for, Marwick Industries. He was a project manager there before everything went wrong. He told me they were hiding transactions, millions in offshore accounts tied to politicians, judges, even cops. He said if he exposed them, he'd be killed. I frowned. And you believed him? At first, no, but then people started disappearing, people he worked with, one by one. She was shaking now. That's why he wanted me to keep the drive. He thought they wouldn't suspect me. I rubbed my temples. And now they know you have it. Yes, and after tonight, they'll know you do too. For a long moment, we just sat there in silence. The hum of the highway in the distance, the smell of gasoline, the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd once trusted with everything. She looked terrified, yes, but also guilty. "Emily," I said softly, "tell me the truth. Were you ever still seeing him?" She hesitated, her eyes filled with tears again. "No, not like that. Not like that," I repeated. She shook her head. "He blackmailed me, said he'd leak things, personal photos, messages from before we married if I didn't help him. That's why I met him again. I was scared." Her voice cracked. "I was trying to protect you, Daniel." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling of the car. Everything hurt. My head, my chest, my trust. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. I put it on speaker. "Who is this?" A deep voice replied, calm and chilling. "You've made a very big mistake, Daniel." I froze. Emily gasped. "It's them." The voice continued. "You have something that isn't yours. If you hand it over, we can make this go away. If not," he paused, "we know where you are." I looked out the window, and that's when I saw it. Headlights. A black SUV pulling into the gas station slowly, its windows tinted. "They're here," Emily whispered. My heart pounded. I started the car, tires screeching as I pulled back onto the road. The SUV followed instantly. The phone was still on speaker, the voice laughing softly. "Run all you want. You can't hide from what's coming." I threw the phone out the window. The SUV accelerated behind us, matching every turn. "Hold on," I shouted. We raced through the back roads, the headlights behind us growing closer. I could barely think, just react, curves, brakes, acceleration. Then Emily yelled, "Left, go left." I turned sharply onto a dirt road leading into a forested area. The SUV followed but slowed down, its lights bouncing through the trees. Finally, after several minutes, we lost them. I pulled over near an old abandoned cabin, the car smoking, my hands trembling. Emily was crying silently beside me. I stepped out, pacing, trying to breathe. "They won't stop, Emily. This isn't just about a flash drive, it's about whatever's on it. They'll kill us for it." She wiped her face. "Then we give it to Claire now?" I nodded, but before we could move, something caught my attention. In the distance, faint lights, headlights, coming down the same dirt road. Emily saw it too. "Oh my God!" I grabbed the drive from my pocket, looked at it one last time, then turned to her. "Go inside the cabin now." She hesitated. "Daniel, go." She ran, and I stayed behind, gripping the small black USB so tightly it left an imprint in my palm. Because I knew whoever was in that car wasn't just coming for the drive anymore. They were coming for me. If you were in my place, would you keep running or finally fight back? Tell me what you'd do in the comments. And don't miss part 5, because the truth behind that drive is darker than anything I imagined. The headlights on the dirt road were getting closer, cutting through the forest like knives in the dark. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the USB drive. Emily had vanished into the cabin, and all I could hear was the crunch of gravel under tires, the growl of engines, and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I crouched behind a fallen tree just off the road, holding my breath as the black SUV slowed near the cabin. 2 men got out dressed in the same dark suits as before, guns at their sides. Their movements were calm, practiced. They weren't nervous. They had done this before. I needed a plan. There was nothing, no escape route, no cell signal, no one to call for help. Claire Jensen, the lawyer, was my only hope, but we were miles from anywhere. And now these men knew exactly where we were. I peeked toward the cabin window. Emily was inside, her face pressed against the glass. She saw me and mouthed something I couldn't read. Panic surged through me. I whispered her name. She shook her head quickly. "Stay hidden, don't move until I say so." I swallowed hard. The forest offered some cover, but it wouldn't last long. The men were circling, scanning every shadow, every tree. And then I heard it, the unmistakable click of a gun being cocked. I froze. One of them was moving closer to my position. My mind raced, fight or flight. I had no choice. I had to act. I grabbed a large branch from the ground, its bark rough and jagged. I waited until the man was just 10 feet away. Then I swung it with everything I had. He stumbled back, cursing. The second man raised his gun, but I darted toward the cabin, keeping low. Adrenaline burned through me like wildfire. Emily opened the back door as I ran up. She grabbed my arm and pulled me inside. "Close it!" I shouted, slamming the door shut behind us. The sound of pounding boots echoed outside. We hid in the small bathroom at the back of the cabin. I held the USB tightly in my pocket, feeling the weight of it, not just a piece of plastic, but proof of secrets that could destroy lives and get us killed. Emily was trembling beside me. "Daniel, I didn't think he'd come back so fast," she whispered. "They're not here for negotiation," I said. "They want everything, the drive, and maybe us too." She shook her head. "We can't stay here, they'll break in eventually." I nodded. She was right. Needed a plan, fast. "Claire," I muttered. "We have to get to Claire, she's the only one who can protect us and the drive." Emily's eyes widened. "But it's miles away, they'll follow us, they have cars, guns, everything." I took a deep breath. Then we'll be smarter, we'll split up, I'll take a back route through the forest, you go to the main road and act like you're just trying to get help, we meet at Claire's office. Her hand went to my cheek. Are you crazy? I'm not leaving you. I shook my head firmly. Emily, it's the only way we survive this, trust me. Her lips quivered, she nodded, tears streaming down her face. We split, she slipped out the back window and vanished into the shadows. I stayed hidden, moving quietly through the trees, listening to the sounds of the SUV outside. They hadn't noticed me yet. The forest was dense, the ground uneven. Every snap of a branch underfoot made my heart leap. Every rustle of leaves made me think someone was behind me. I paused near a small creek, crouched behind a boulder, and checked the USB. Nothing on the drive had changed, but I could feel its danger growing with every second. Whoever Ethan had tangled with would stop at nothing to get it back. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the clearing ahead. I froze. It wasn't one of the men from the SUV. It was Claire Jensen. She was tall, wearing a long coat, sunglasses even in the dark. A calm presence in the chaos. "You Daniel," she said in a low, steady voice. "Yes," I breathed, stepping forward. We have something, a drive, they're after us." She nodded without hesitation. "I know, let's move, quickly." We ran together through the forest, moving silently toward her car parked on a small service road. She opened the trunk, gesturing for me to get in. Emily's voice crackled in my earpiece. She had managed to reach Claire from a hidden location. "I'm on the main road, coming your way now." Claire glanced at me. "Good, we'll meet her, but not yet. We have to make sure they're not following." We drove off slowly, sticking to the shadows. The forest behind us was alive with danger. Every rustle, every glint of light could be an enemy. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I silenced it immediately, but Claire's hand froze on the wheel. "Do not answer. Whoever it is, they want you scared. They want you distracted." Minutes passed. The tension was unbearable. Every passing car made me flinch. Every shadow seemed like a threat. Finally, Claire guided us to a small, abandoned warehouse near the edge of town. "Safe for now," she said. Inside, she led us to a room filled with monitors, computers, and filing cabinets. This wasn't just a lawyer, she was a strategist, a fighter, someone who knew how to handle danger. She looked at me and Emily, her gaze sharp. "This drive isn't just files, it's evidence. Evidence that could bring down powerful people. You've been lucky to survive this long." I felt the weight of it settle in my chest. Lucky? That felt like a joke. We had been running for hours, and yet here we were hiding, hoping the next moment wouldn't be our last. Emily finally broke down completely. "Daniel, I'm sorry, I never wanted you to be involved. I just wanted to protect you." I put my hand on hers. "I know, but now we have to survive, and we have to make sure the world knows the truth." Claire finally spoke. "First, we need a plan. We can't confront them directly, they're too powerful. But we can make them vulnerable, we can turn the tables." I looked at the USB drive in my hand. It was small, insignificant, but it felt like holding the fate of the world. "And," Claire added, her eyes narrowing, "we have to assume they'll try again tonight." I swallowed hard. "Then we don't have a choice. We fight smart or we die running." Emily's hand squeezed mine. "I'm ready. I don't care about the risk anymore. I want this nightmare to end." I nodded. "Then we do it together. No more hiding." And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't felt in weeks: determination. Determination to uncover the truth, to survive, and to make sure whoever was behind this would pay for what they did. Because by the end of tonight, someone was going to be exposed, and it wasn't going to be me. If you were in my place, what would you do with that drive? Risk everything or hide it forever? Comment below and subscribe for part 6, because the night of truth is just beginning, and it's going to get darker than ever. The warehouse was quiet, too quiet. Claire had shut the blinds, turned off the main lights, leaving only the glow of computer screens illuminating the room. Emily and I sat across from her at a metal table, the USB drive between us like a ticking time bomb. I couldn't stop thinking about the men in the SUV. They weren't just after the drive, they were after us. And now, hiding in this empty warehouse, it felt like the walls themselves were closing in. Claire leaned back, steepling her fingers. "I've seen this before. When someone has something powerful, people will stop at nothing to get it back. They won't negotiate, they won't leave you alone, and they definitely won't play fair." I swallowed hard. "Then what do? "We gather evidence," she said. "We make sure the authorities, real authorities, can't ignore it. But first, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with." I nodded, glancing at Emily. Her face was pale, her hands trembling as she reached for my arm. "We can do this," I whispered. "We have to." Claire plugged the USB into one of her computers. The screen flickered, and then dozens of files appeared: spreadsheets, documents, and folders labeled with cryptic names. But the most important were the videos. She opened the first one. It was a boardroom. Men in suits passing envelopes, signing papers. I recognized a few of the names: CEOs, government officials, politicians. Everything I had feared was true. This was blackmail material, proof of corruption on a massive scale. Emily gasped. That's them. That's what Ethan was talking about." I leaned closer. We can't just give this to the cops. Half of them are probably involved. Claire nodded. Exactly, that's why we need to be smart. We need to leak it in a way that exposes them without getting ourselves killed. I felt a shiver run down my spine. And what about Ethan? I asked quietly. He's dead, isn't he? Or, Emily shook her head. He disappeared 2 nights ago. No one knows where he went. I think he knew something worse was coming and wanted to make sure the drive got out safely. I clenched my fists. Ethan had risked everything, and now it was on us. Claire spoke again. We need a plan to protect ourselves first. Then we release the files strategically. But there's one problem. Whoever sent those men after you will be back tonight. They know where you are now. I looked at Emily. Then we need a safe place somewhere off the grid. Claire's expression hardened. I know someone, a safe house outside the city, cameras, alarms, everything, but getting there won't be easy. They're likely watching every road in and out of this city if they suspect we're moving the drive. They'll intercept us. I felt the tension knotting my stomach. Then we go at night, undercover, move fast. Emily's hand squeezed mine. I don't care what happens, I'm with you. I looked at her and realized that in the middle of all this fear, this chaos, we had one advantage, trust. She had kept us alive this far, and now we had to rely on each other completely. Claire pulled up a map on one of the monitors. We'll use back roads, service tunnels, anything to avoid detection. But here's the catch, we can't trust anyone else. No cops, no friends, no family. If anyone sees us with that drive, they're targets too. I felt a heavy weight settle over me. So it's just us against them and whoever else is involved. Claire nodded. Exactly, and make no mistake, they will try everything to stop you. If they catch you, it won't be just the drive they take. They'll make sure you disappear. Emily shivered. Disappear? I felt the tension rise even higher. Then we don't get caught. We move fast, we move smart, and we don't stop until we reach Claire's safe house. Claire checked her watch. We leave in 30 minutes. That gives us enough time to prepare, but not too much that someone finds us. I took a deep breath and looked at Emily. Her eyes were wide, terrified, but resolute. You ready? She nodded, gripping my hand tightly. I've never been more ready in my life. Claire pulled out a small bag and handed it to me. You'll need this. Cash, burner phone, GPS jammer, everything to make sure they can't track you. Keep it on you at all times. I stuffed the bag into my backpack, feeling the weight of it, both physical and symbolic. Every step from here on out could mean life or death. Minutes later, we slipped out of the warehouse under the cover of darkness. Claire led us through a back alley to a nondescript van parked near the edge of the lot. She started the engine and gestured for us to get in. The van smelled of gasoline and leather, a stark contrast to the sterile environment of the warehouse. Emily sat next to me, clutching the USB drive as if it were a lifeline, which, in a way, it was. We drove silently through the dark city streets, sticking to side roads and alleys. Every turn, every shadow made my pulse spike. And then headlights. A black SUV appeared behind us, moving fast, closing the distance. Claire cursed under her breath. They found us sooner than I thought. I gritted my teeth. Then we drive, we don't stop. We weaved through narrow streets, dodging parked cars, ducking under low bridges. The SUV followed relentlessly. Emily's hand was sweating against mine. Daniel, they're not giving up. I shook my head. Neither are we. Claire spoke calmly, her hands steady on the wheel. We'll lose them if we take the service tunnels up ahead. It's risky, but it's our only chance. I leaned forward, tension coiling like a spring in my chest. Do it. The van turned sharply into the tunnel entrance, barely missing a chain-link fence. The darkness swallowed us, headlights cutting through the mist inside. We moved fast, low, trying to stay invisible. Every echo of our engine sounded like a siren. Then suddenly the SUV appeared at the tunnel entrance too late. We had slipped past. I exhaled, leaning back in my seat. For now, I muttered. Emily looked at me, her face a mix of relief and fear. Do you think we're safe? I shook my head. Safe? Not yet, but we're moving, and that's the only thing that matters right now. Claire glanced at me. Once we reach the safe house, we'll plan the next move. But understand this, the night isn't over. Whoever is after you will keep coming. And they'll escalate. I clenched my fists, determination settling in. Then we fight smart, we survive, and we make sure they never touch us or that drive again. Emily nodded, gripping my hand tighter. Together. The van continued through the tunnels, the USB drive secure, but the weight of the danger pressing on us. Somewhere in the darkness, the people chasing us were already planning their next move. And I knew the night of truth was far from over. If you were in my place, would you risk everything to expose the truth? Comment what you do and subscribe for part 7, because the next confrontation is going to be the most dangerous one yet. The tunnels were dark and smelled like damp concrete and gasoline. Every turn felt like a trap. Every shadow could hide someone with a gun. The van moved slowly, deliberately, sticking close to the walls. Claire was silent, her hands steady on the wheel, her eyes scanning every angle as if she could see through the darkness. Emily sat beside me, trembling slightly but clutching the USB drive like her life depended on it, because it did. I could feel her fear but also her trust. She had chosen to believe in me and I couldn't let her down. Suddenly, Claire spoke, her voice low but firm. "We're not out of danger yet. The tunnels split ahead. One path leads to a service exit near the river, the other leads into the industrial district. The wrong choice and they'll catch us." I swallowed hard. "Which one do we take?" She paused, calculating. "The river exit, it's riskier, but it gives us cover once we're outside, less chance of being seen from above." I nodded, tension coiling in my chest. Every mile felt like a heartbeat away from disaster. As we navigated the twists and turns, headlights suddenly appeared in the rearview mirror, bright, aggressive, cutting through the shadows. "They're in the tunnels," Emily cried. I grabbed her hand, squeezing it tightly. "Hold on." Claire didn't flinch. "They think they can follow us in here. No chance. Stay low, stay quiet." The SUV barreled toward us, tires screeching against the concrete. Its lights reflected off the wet walls, making everything feel surreal, like a nightmare. Then a sharp turn. I held my breath as the van spun slightly, narrowly avoiding a concrete pillar. The SUV followed but was too wide for the corner, scraping against the wall. Sparks flew and the sound of metal on concrete echoed through the tunnel like a gunshot. Emily gasped. "Are they okay?" I shook my head. "We don't care, just keep moving." The van accelerated as we neared the river exit. Claire's voice was calm but urgent. "Almost there, almost there." We hit the exit ramp and burst out into the open. The night air was cold and sharp. Trees lined the riverbank, shadows stretching long and dark. Claire slowed the van, keeping it hidden behind a line of bushes. I peeked out. No SUV, no headlights. For a moment we were invisible. Emily let out a shaky breath. "I can't believe we made it," I turned to her. "Don't relax yet, they'll keep looking, and they know we have the drive." Claire nodded. "We'll walk the rest. The safe house is hidden off-grid. It won't find it without a tracker, and I've neutralized any GPS signals in the van." I grabbed the USB drive from Emily, holding it like a lifeline. The weight of it felt heavier than ever, proof that could destroy people, but also the reason we were running for our lives. We moved quietly along the riverbank, every snap of a twig making me jump. My heart pounded, each beat echoing in my ears. Then I heard it, a faint hum like an engine. I froze. Emily grabbed my arm. "They're here." I scanned the darkness. 2 SUVs had blocked the path ahead, their lights off but engines running. Figures were getting out. Armed, ready, Claire whispered, "We have no choice, we run, don't stop." We bolted, sprinting along the uneven riverbank. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but adrenaline pushed me forward. Emily stumbled, but I grabbed her hand, pulling her along. One of the men raised a flashlight, its beam cut through the darkness, landing on us. "Stop!" he shouted. I ignored him, keeping low, ducking behind rocks and trees. Another figure raised a gun. "Daniel!" Emily screamed. "They're going to shoot!" I didn't stop. I couldn't, not now, not with the drive, not with everything on the line. We reached a small dock, abandoned, rickety, stretching into the river. Claire was ahead of us, signaling to climb onto a small boat hidden behind some crates. We leapt aboard, the wood creaking under our weight. Claire pushed us off into the dark water, the current carrying us silently downstream. The men on the shore shouted, firing shots over our heads. Bullets splashed into the water around us. Emily cried, clutching my arm. "They're trying to kill us," I whispered. "Keep moving, don't look back." The river carried us into a narrow canal. Trees arched overhead, hiding us from view. Every minute felt like an eternity. My arms ached from holding the USB tight, my mind racing with thoughts of what Ethan had risked to protect this. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, Claire steered the boat into a hidden cove. The water was still. Trees and rocks hid us completely from sight. We climbed out, dripping wet and exhausted. I hugged Emily tightly, feeling the tension leave my body just slightly. Claire handed me a backpack. "We rest here for now. We have a few hours before they realize where we went. Then we move to the safe house." I set the USB inside the backpack, locking it tight. "This is far from over," I muttered. Emily nodded. "I know, but at least we're still alive." Claire looked at both of us, serious. "They won't stop, not until they have that drive or until you're dead, and they're clever. They have resources, connections, people in places you wouldn't imagine." I felt my stomach twist. "Then we have to be smarter, faster. We can't make a single mistake." Emily squeezed my hand. "We'll do whatever it takes together." And in that moment, I realized that no matter what happened next, we had each other, and that might be the only thing standing between us and them. But I also knew deep down that the night wasn't over, not even close. Somewhere out there, our pursuers were regrouping. Somewhere out there, Ethan's enemies were planning their next move, and we had no idea how far they'd go. If you were in my place, would you keep running or try to fight back? Comment what you do and subscribe for Part 8, because the next confrontation will test us in ways we can't imagine. The cove was quiet, almost unreal. The water rippled gently, hiding us from the world, but every instinct in my body screamed that danger wasn't far behind. Claire set the boat against the rocks and led us deeper into the small, forested area, her flashlight cutting through the darkness like a knife. Emily's teeth chattered not just from the cold, but from fear. "Daniel, they're still out there," she whispered, her voice trembling. I held her hand tightly. "I know, but we have to stay calm. One mistake and it's over." Claire stopped suddenly. "We need to move to the safe house now. It's not far, but the path is exposed. We'll have to be smart, split if necessary, hide if necessary, and trust no one." I looked at Emily. Her eyes were wide with fear, but I saw determination there too. "We stick together. Whatever happens, we don't separate." She nodded, biting her lip. "I'm not leaving your side." We moved slowly through the underbrush, the sound of our footsteps muffled by the forest floor. I clutched the backpack with the USB drive like it was the most fragile and precious thing in the world, because it was. Everything hinged on it. Everything we had survived hinged on it. Then I heard it. A soft crunch, something small at first, then growing louder. Someone was following us. "Stop," Claire whispered, motioning for us to crouch behind a tree. We froze, hearts pounding. The footsteps paused, then continued, deliberate, methodical. Whoever it was knew we were here. Emily gripped my arm. "Daniel, what do we do?" I swallowed hard. "We wait and watch." A figure emerged from the shadows, a man in a black suit, but not one of the men from the SUV. He carried something in his hands, a device, maybe a tracker, maybe something worse. Claire's eyes narrowed. "It's a scout. He's trying to mark our location." I felt a surge of anger and fear. "Do we fight him?" "No," Claire said sharply. "We cannot risk exposure. Stay hidden." The man paused near the tree we were behind, his flashlight scanning slowly. Every second felt like an eternity. Then, as silently as he appeared, he moved on. I exhaled, relief flooding through me. "That was too close." Emily leaned against me. "We can't keep running like this forever. They'll catch us eventually." "I know," I admitted. "But we don't have a choice, not until the drive is safe." After another tense half-hour, we finally emerged near the outskirts of the city. Claire led us down a narrow dirt path to a secluded safe house, hidden behind tall trees and a steel gate. The building was small but reinforced, with security cameras, alarms, and a reinforced door. "This is it," Claire said. "We'll be safe here for now, but we can't stay long. They'll figure out we moved." I set the backpack with the USB down on a table and opened it carefully, almost afraid to touch it. Emily watched me, tears in her eyes. "We made it," she whispered. I shook my head. "Not yet. This is just the beginning." Claire came over, pointing at the monitors set up in the room. "We'll check the files, make copies, encrypt everything. We'll prepare a way to release it strategically. But tonight we need rest and vigilance. They might try again." I looked at Emily. "Do you trust me?" She nodded. "With everything." I wanted to believe we were finally safe. I wanted to believe that the nightmare was over. But deep down, I knew that whoever Ethan had tangled with wouldn't stop until they got the drive or until we were dead. Hours passed. We worked quietly, encrypting the files, making backups. Claire instructed us on protocols: don't answer unknown calls, check for trackers, stay vigilant. Every sound outside made us flinch. Every shadow in the room felt like a threat. At some point, I drifted into a restless sleep, Emily curled beside me, both of us exhausted but too anxious to rest fully. I woke to a faint noise, someone at the gate. My heart jumped. I grabbed the backpack, clutching it to my chest. Claire was already awake, moving silently toward the window. She whispered, "It's them. They've found us." Emily gasped, her hand clutching mine. "Daniel, what do we do?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My mind raced, trying to think. Every plan I had ran through my head: traps, escape routes, diversions. None of them were guaranteed. The gate rattled. Heavy footsteps approached. Then a voice, calm, chilling, familiar. "Daniel, we know you're in there. Give us the drive and no one gets hurt." My blood ran cold. The voice, I knew it. Claire's hand rested on my shoulder. "They're clever, they're patient, but they underestimate us." I gritted my teeth. "Then let's make them regret it," Emily whispered, trembling. "I'm scared." Squeezed her hand. "Me too, but we survive this together, no matter what." The door shook under forceful blows. I could hear the men trying to break it. Claire turned to us. "This is it. No more running. You have the drive. You know what it can do. Now we fight smart, or we die trying." I nodded, gripping the USB tightly. Everything led to this moment. Every choice, every risk, every second we had survived, it all came down to what we did next. Emily looked at me, fear and trust in her eyes. "I'm with you." I swallowed, my pulse racing. "Then we end this tonight." The safe house trembled under the next hit. The night of truth had arrived. If you were in my place, would you risk everything to fight back or try to escape again? Comment what you do and subscribe for part 9. The final showdown is coming, and the truth will finally be revealed. The door shuddered again under another hit, splintering slightly at the edges. My heart was racing like a drumbeat in a war zone. Emily's hands shook as she clutched mine, the USB drive pressed against her chest like a lifeline. Claire whispered sharply, "Stay calm, stay low, wait for my signal." I crouched behind a heavy metal cabinet, peeking through a crack. The men outside were methodical, experienced, relentless. Their footsteps echoed in the small, safe house like the march of death. Then the voice I dreaded the most, calm, menacing, familiar, rang out. "Daniel, you've made this difficult, but it ends tonight. Hand over the drive and no one gets hurt." I gritted my teeth. "Not a chance." Emily looked at me with wide eyes. "Are we really going to fight them?" "Yes," I said firmly. "This is the only way. We either fight smart or we die running forever." Claire moved quickly, handing me a small, discreet taser. "We're not going in blind. This isn't just about brute force. We need strategy. You two follow my lead." The door burst inward just a second later, and 3 men poured into the room. Guns raised. Calm, precise, professional. I lunged forward, taser in hand, taking down the closest one as Claire kicked another backward, sending him sprawling. Emily ducked behind a table, clutching the USB as a shield, her eyes wide but determined. Shots rang out. The room was chaos. Glass shattered. Furniture overturned. I could feel the heat of bullets whizzing past my head. One man lunged at Emily. I slammed into him, tackling him to the floor. He tried to fight, but adrenaline gave me strength I didn't know I had. Claire was a whirlwind, swift, deadly, precise. She knocked another attacker unconscious with a single strike, moving like someone who had been trained for this exact moment. I looked at Emily. "Stay close, keep the drive safe," she nodded, shaking but holding it tightly. Her trust in me was overwhelming. It made me realize we weren't just surviving, we were fighting for justice, for truth, for ourselves. The final attacker grabbed a chair, swinging it toward me. I ducked and rolled, sending him off balance. Claire disarmed him effortlessly and pinned him to the floor. It was over in minutes, though it felt like hours. The men groaned and moaned, disoriented, beaten, defeated. I collapsed onto the floor, chest heaving, sweat and blood mixing on my skin. Emily ran to me, throwing her arms around my neck. We made it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I held her tight, my own relief crashing over me. "Yes, we made it." Claire stood over the unconscious men, surveying the room. "You're lucky this drive, it's powerful and dangerous, but now you're alive, and that's what matters." I looked down at the USB drive in Emily's hands. It was small, insignificant looking, yet it held the weight of truth that could topple empires. "Now what?" Emily asked, her voice trembling but resolute. I swallowed. "Now we make sure it gets to the right people. Expose them. We make sure no one else gets hurt because of this." Claire nodded. "And you'll need protection. This isn't over, not entirely, but tonight you survived. That counts for a lot." We sat there for a long time, catching our breath, hearts still pounding. The adrenaline slowly faded, leaving only the stark reality of what we had survived. Emily looked at me, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Daniel, for everything, for putting you through this." I shook my head, cupping her face. "No. You didn't. We survived because we trusted each other, and that's what matters. We made it through hell together, and we'll finish this together." Claire finally spoke again, calm but serious. "Tomorrow, we release the evidence, carefully, strategically. The world needs to know the truth, and this drive is how it will happen." I looked at Emily, and she nodded. We were exhausted, terrified, and raw, but alive. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, hope. Because tonight we had survived, tonight we had fought back, and tomorrow the world would see what those men had tried so desperately to hide. Emily whispered softly, her voice full of emotion. "We did it, we're alive." I held her hand, feeling the weight of everything behind us and ahead of us. "Yes, and we'll make sure it counts. No more hiding, no more running. This ends with the truth." The night was silent now, the threat gone, at least for the moment. But deep down, I knew that the fight for justice had only just begun. And we were ready, because no matter what, we would survive, and the truth would win. If you were in my place, would you risk everything for justice or walk away while you could? Comment your thoughts, share your story, and make sure to subscribe, because sometimes the truth is more dangerous than we ever imagine.